Diagnostic laboratory. Diseases that affect birds have a wide range of overlapping clinical signs and visible lesions. In most cases, samples need to be submitted to a diagnostic laboratory in order to provide a definitive diagnosis and identify the causative agent. Laboratory technique and instruments used by the avian diagnostician are numerous and can be quite sophisticated. Accuracy of the result often depends on the quality of the sample submitted. An avian diagnostician interprets the clinical and laboratory results to determine the cause of the disease. In this lecture, we discuss the sample collection, packaging, laboratory technique for diagnosis of avian diseases, types of samples. A variety of samples may be collected, including blood, swabs, and tissues. In order to slow down the composition, live and freshly dead birds should be submitted to the laboratory. In order to slow down the decomposition of the dead birds, wet or feather on the body with soap water. Place the carcasses in a sealed bag. Refrigerate as soon as possible. Don't freeze the carcass unless it's going to take longer than 5 days after death to be delivered. Freezing produces some artifacts, but a decomposed carcass is worse. It's common to perform post-mortem examination on 5 to 10 birds that have been randomly selected from the flock for health monitoring. A standard set of samples submitted for health monitoring may include blood serum samples, cloacal samples for viral and bacterial detection, swabs and fresh tissue from trachea, air sac, lung, liver, and or spleen for viral and bacterial detection, and fixed in 10% formalin tissue for histopathology. In sick flocks, it's important to select birds with typical clinical signs. If the main problem is increased mortality without any other signs, choose birds that have died recently for the necropsy examination. The birds that have died recently is the typical for necropsy examination. In disease investigations, it's important to examine tissue with gross lesions and to test other samples without lesions, blood and swabs to confirm diagnosis and rule out other possible problems. Blood samples for immunological tests are collected aseptically in sterile top vacuum tubes, separator tubes, or other non-irida heparin tubes for a maximum serum yield. Don't fill the tube to more than 1/3 their capacity and lay the tubes containing freshly drawn blood on their sides. Once the blood has clotted, the serum can be processed from the clot and sent to the laboratory, or the tubes containing clotted blood can be sent to the laboratory. Submit a minimum of 0.3 ml 300 ml of serum per test, or 1 to 3 ml of clotted blood depending on the number of tests requested. Refrigerate serum clotted blood until shipment. Don't freeze serum or clotted blood. Swabs from oropharynx and cloaca may be submitted for detection of the pathogen by molecular methods or isolation of the microorganisms. Label to indicate hazardous material, dangerous goods, potential infectious materials. Ensure that adequate plans and arrangements are made for the packaging, transport, and submission of samples to the lab. It's critical to limit leaking, cross-contamination, and potential confusion of sample identity and integrity. Ensure that adequate plan and arrangement are made for the packaging, transport, and submission of the sample to the lab. It's critical to limit leaking, cross-contamination, and the potential confusion of sample identity and integrity. Place samples in a sealed primary container, plastic bag. Wrap the primary container in sufficient dry absorbent material, cotton, to absorb liquid content in case of breakage, and place enough cushion to avoid breakage. Formalin fixed specimen may be shipped in a plastic specimen jar containing a 10 to 1 liquid to tissue volume of formalin. Place the primary container in a secondary containers, for example, styrofoam box with a refrigerated or frozen commercial coolant package to keep the sample the maximum bacterial overgrowth, to keep the specimen cool and minimize the bacterial overgrowth. Laboratory quality standards. Quality standards are being required to ensure that the laboratory information is accurate, reliable, and reproducible with the goal of standardization of the test and to limit variation of results within the and between laboratories. ISO document 17025 is the main standard for diagnostic laboratory worldwide. These standards are reflected in the essential requirement for accreditation by the American Association of Veterinary Laboratory Diagnosticians, which accredits diagnostic laboratories in the United States and Canada. And this is the side of the accreditation requirement. The avian diagnostic laboratory should operate under standard biosecurity criteria. Although some avian procedures can be conducted at biosafety level 1, biosafety level 2 is desirable because some avian pathogen may cause disease in humans. Biosafety level 3 may be required for some pathogens that may have lethal consequences in humans. Testing methods. Classical methods include isolation and characterization of the pathogen and immunological assays such as agglutination. Some diagnostic assays take advantage of technology to detect organisms with the need for isolation. This diagnostic technique, in addition to be sensitive and specific, allow to process a large number of samples in a short time. Modern diagnostic assays require expensive requirements and equipments such as polymerase chain reaction, PCR, and enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay or ELISA. We can explain these techniques in separate courses. And thank you.